Greetings, Stars fans. This is the Two Brothers Mic'd Up show. If you didn't know, we sit down, play a game of NHL, and we talk about your Dallas Stars right here on the internet. We give our thoughts and we discuss them. And the Dallas Stars played in Game 54 of the season against the Minnesota Wild. It is the fifth and final time we will see Minnesota unless they make the playoffs, which at this point it's not looking so great because Minnesota can't seem to score a goal for the life of them. Oh wait, until they play the Dallas Stars. So the Dallas Stars, they come out on top with a score of 4-3 in overtime. And as always, we start off each video with predictions from the last video, so always stick around for those. Quinn, you liked a score of 3-2 for Dallas if they were going to come on top. Not a bad prediction. 4-1 for Minnesota, which honestly it probably could have been if we didn't have such a good second period and we let that third period just get completely out of hand. I liked a score of 2-1 for Dallas if they were to come on top, and a score of 3-0 for Minnesota. So, right off the bat, we are coming off the just horrendous loss to Chicago. What were your feelings going into this game, and how did you feel about 10 minutes into this game to see if they've kind of responded at all from that Chicago game?
You know, you look at both teams and you see both teams are struggling as of late. You know, Minnesota with their whole offense drought that they're getting into, Dallas with, you know, they're out there they're reaching for that treasure like Indiana Jones, but as soon as they put that idol down on there, they get crushed by the rock. So, so a lot of mixed feelings going into this game.
Yeah, the feeling that I had going into this game, it's just like when we were giving the predictions, we kind of predicted that it was going to be a close game, in which it was, and it has usually been a close game, aside from one that the Stars won in Minnesota. What was it, 6-3? They got like two empty net goals. That every game's close, and so I expected this game to be close. Now, I wasn't too sure how I liked Kari in net because, I mean, let's be honest, Niemi was not great against Chicago, but I think he might have deserved kind of a bounce back game, which I think he'll more than likely get that against Chicago on Thursday. But I kind of liked the thought of maybe giving Niemi a redo because you know what, that Chicago game was a total team loss. So I wouldn't have put everything on him, per se. But let's go down the scorers of the match. We have Haula, Goligoski, Fontaine, all in the first period. Jason Demers and Patrick Eves in the second period. Dallas Stars had a great second period. And then Mikko Koivu in the third, and Johnny Klingberg, which around here he's now Johnny Hockey and not Johnny Gaudreau. Controversial goal in the third period that we'll talk about in a minute. But you see a score of 2-1 in Dallas, or a 2-1 against the Dallas Stars in Minnesota. If you're not watching that game, what do you think whenever you see a score of 2-1 going out of the first period?
Both teams coming out hard, both teams fighting. You know, neither one of them wants to give the edge to the other team because they both know they're in slumps. So they probably came out with this game playing as hard as they probably could, like trying to get their season back on track.
Yeah, the shots on goal in the first period, 13-10. It's not like Minnesota just completely flat out played them, but I do think Minnesota had a better jump to the game than the Dallas Stars did. It still looked that Dallas was still caught up in that Chicago game. Like, they just couldn't really shake it off until they got out of that first period. I think once they got out of that first period, they thought, okay, look, all that crap, it's behind us. Let's actually go out and play a game of hockey. That first goal within 5 minutes just looked like standard Stars defense and goaltending right there. I mean, you had Hollis streak in. He catches a pass, but then completely catches Klingberg flat-footed. And Klingberg doesn't have the speed to transition and skate with the Minnesota Wild player. And he doesn't even really make that big of a fancy move on Kari either. Like, it looked like Kari just wasn't really set.
Backhand, forehand.
Yeah, it just looked like he wasn't really set for the skater to come in. I thought it was kind of a weak goal because Kari is usually the better of the two working on one-on-ones. But, he just got flat out beat on that one, and it was just the start of the game to where I thought, okay, this is just par for the course. This is the Dallas Stars defense now. Now, Alex Goligoski, when he jumps up into the play and receives a pass from Tyler Seguin and we get the score tied up, we were like, okay. The Stars are getting it that our defense really has to start getting more involved into the play. You saw Dallas cheating a lot with their defense more into the Minnesota zone, but ultimately that comes back and bites them in the ass with that Fontaine goal because one gets cut and then Oduya tries to get over and doesn't play it all that great, and only Seguin is back to skate against 4 Minnesota Wild players. Talking about the first 2 Minnesota Wild goals, what did you see on the defense? And going through the rest of the game, how did you feel the rest of the game was going to be played out?
I think you hit the nail on the head with Klingberg playing defense. It looks like he thought that he was going to be able to get the poke check because you see him try to poke check the puck away from him. So I think he put all of his effort into that. And when the puck slips by, he's in no position to play catch up. He's completely out of there. Holla just turns on the afterburners, goes straight to the net and beats Kari. The Fontaine goal, defense 101 is like, if you're the only person back, you usually don't try to pressure the player with the puck because more than likely you're going to lose. And Oduya lost on this one. They get a perfect pass to Fontaine. Becomes a 3 or 4 on 1 with Seguin. Not a knock at Seguin, but Sagan's not the best defensive player.
Right.
He's kind of like Klingberg. He's offensive minded. I'm not saying that he can't play defense because they usually use him on the point a lot, but he's built for offense skill wise. So when you see that, it's kind of frightening to see, and you feel something bad's going to happen, and of course they get the goal.
Yeah, it's becoming kind of a game by game thing that our top line and our top D pair are the ones that are getting shut down, or they're the ones that are getting exposed, because on the first goal it's Klingberg and Goligoski that really get exposed on the back end, and then on the second goal Jamie and Tyler are out there on the ice and they get scored on. That's the thing about like this slump and them trying to slowly get out of it, is that our top reliance on our top line and our top D pair is becoming a crux to us, that we're trying to rely on them too much. And I feel as if it's putting all this pressure on them, and I'm really starting to see that in Klingberg. His decision making, his forced passing. You're seeing a lot of forced passes from the top lines on this team, but there's a funk in there that they can have a good game and then they will ride out a 3-game stinker. And look, the Dallas Stars won this game, but they should have lost that game. I mean, we will now take. These are the games that we're like, okay, yeah. Let's take that. Let's put it in our back pocket, and we'll save that one for later on down the road. But at the beginning of the season, we would have looked at this game as like a total failure. But they respond very well in the second period. They come out and they outshoot Minnesota. It's 13-9 for Dallas in shots. And that's a good sign because a lot of the time in a second period when the Dallas Stars have been down, they usually come out flat again. It's not a lot of push in the past like month and a half that we've seen to where Dallas has a bad period and they come back and answer with a good period. But we do see it kind of was like last season as well. You'll see a really good period out of Dallas, but then they will come out. They'll go to the locker room, they'll come out on the ice, and they will just absolutely just stop playing. It's like they don't understand hockey at all. It's like they go back to playing house leagues like they're playing mites. And they just forget about everything. They get outshot 17-4 in the third period. And they were getting outshot 12-0 within 10 minutes of the third period. They didn't get a shot on goal until like 6 minutes left of the third period. So that's becoming more of a standard right now. But what was good about this game is seeing our defense actually cash in on the goal scoring. Seeing a little bit of that depth scoring that this team should be ripe with. But it's kind of drying up a bit to where, if our top lines aren't scoring, then we're not really getting much. You see a fluky goal from Jason Demers, and then you see Patrick Eves get his fourth on the power play, which was great seeing the power play actually wake up. Did you see anything different with the power play this game?
It's like it kind of seemed like they had a little more jump in them, but it's like you say, like it's getting to a point to where our best skilled players are trying to force the pass too often because they know if they can make that one pass, it's a goal. But the fact of the matter that they got to make that pass to 5 people because everybody's in front of the net, and it's gonna get picked off. There's that one in a million chance that it's gonna get through.
Yeah, and one thing that I was noticing is that I guess because Spezza is not in the lineup, they're not doing the drop pass. And I think with this game, they spent a lot more time in the Minnesota zone on the power play, and hopefully they see we don't need the drop pass anymore. Don't need it. Dump and chase for the rest of the season, especially when Spezza comes back, because I think that'll take pressure off of Spezza, because I honestly thought that a lot of that pressure comes on Spezza whenever he's having to wheel and deal on that. Both teams got power or our penalty kill let one up, but that was just the weirdest allowed goal I've seen in a long time. Let's actually go into the third period and then let's talk about that goal, because that goal comes within like 2 minutes of the start. What did you see on the goal, and how did you feel it should have been ruled?
I mean, it could have went a couple of different ways. It could have been goalie interference because you see him. I forget who it was. Maybe Parise came in. Whenever he did his little forehand backhand.
It was Parise that
to try and get it by him
a little bit. Yeah.
He hits. He taps Carletton. Pulls him out a little bit. So I mean that could have been it. Then Dumba goes flying into the net. The thing is, like, you don't really see it, but you feel like if his hand touched the puck, that should be a hand pass. And I mean, there's just so many different angles that you see it at. It's like, well, this could be it, this could be it. But overall, it's called a good goal.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that it wasn't a coach's challenge. It was the actual league calls and it was like, whoa, okay, let's take a look at it. And from all the replays that I saw on the TV, I'm not sure if they're getting any other kind of feeds over there. You clearly see Dumba's hand touch the puck. Like, he falls onto it. How that's not ruled a hand pass, because, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, it could touch your glove, flop down, and then another player comes by and takes it. That's a hand pass. So, I think the result of that was very poor on the NHL. I would have liked a better explanation out of that, to see like a super strict, clear rule on it. I honestly thought that maybe Lindy should have used the timeout right there to get a coach's challenge on that. I think that would have been a first to challenge the league actually ruling on the goal, but I guess since Lindy saw that the league actually called it was a goal, he was like, well, then I don't really need to waste this. But in fairness, it was probably the right thing to do, because the Stars get completely outworked in the third period. You see a lot of zone time. You see a lot of passing going on. You would not think that the Minnesota Wild has lost 11 out of their past 13 games. Like, flat out losses, regulation losses. Or, no, like, they've lost 12 of their 11. They've only gotten points. Or 12 of 13. They've only gotten points.
To say, you don't know how to math?
They've only gotten points out of 2 of those. So they're like 1, 11, and 1 in their past 13. And it didn't look like that at all. It looked like the Stars were back in January on that huge, horrific slump. And that goes to show you the desperation that Minnesota had, and it goes to show you that the Stars didn't have the pushback. This goes back into the physicality. This goes back into the grit, the grind of this team. And we don't really talk about this player too much on this show, because, you know, for the most part, he's been doing what he's on the team for. But I want to talk about Roussel. What's happened to Roussel? In your opinion, do you feel like this is the Roussel that we've been sold over the past couple of seasons, that is this grinder, that is this tough guy that will go out and stand up for anybody? If he sees the game kind of swaying away from him, he'll step in to try to bring some kind of momentum to this team. Are we seeing that player right now?
Oh, God, no. If you like really like start paying attention to Roussel when he's out there on the ice, you know, the guy is a workhorse. Like, he skates nonstop. He plays physical. But, you know, it's that play is great. The play when he actually touches the puck is what's concerning to me. Because you see him, he'll grab the puck, and it's like his body starts moving way too fast for his mind to keep up. He loses the puck a lot. He makes a lot of desperation passes, a lot of no-look passes. And I mean, we get it, Roussel, that you want to contribute to the team, but your contributions is mainly for your physicality. As of right now, I would not be sad to see him traded.
Yeah, I know it's kind of blasphemy to talk about a fan favorite like that, but right now he's on this team to be that spark plug, to be that Steve Ott, to be that kind of player that goes out there and he sees, like, in that third period when we're getting outworked for like 10 minutes, nobody was doing anything to try to turn the tide. Like, they just kept letting Minnesota go and go and go. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what about Jamie? Jamie is our best player. He's our best all-around player. He's better than Sagan at defense. Recently, those two have not been great on defense, but Jamie cannot be the sheriff that we need this team to have. Jamie needs to be on the ice. I understand if the score was like 5-2 in the third period, okay, let Jamie come in there to, throw some knuckles and try to, bring back some pride to the team. But if in a close game that's 3-3, you can't have Jamie off the ice for 5 minutes. That's what Roussel is for. Roussel is a third-line, fourth-line player. Now, he's worked his way up, and he's been in and out of different lines. He's even gotten first-line and second-line time this season. But the grit and the grind that he's showed and that he's been successful at, I mean, he's not showing any of it.
Yeah, especially, like, to also comment on that. Like, you expect this kind of play to come from your third and fourth lines. But when you really start looking at it, other than Moen and maybe a little bit of Fiddler, you don't really see any grit coming out of our fourth and third line, which is what they're there for. You got Eakin and Hensky on the third line, the checking line, and you hardly ever see. Hensky is the skill on that line.
Right, and then Eakin's the only one out there that's actually throwing bodies, throwing hits. Eakin is the more consistent person that is throwing the body more, and Roussel seems like he wants to be that finesse player. Yeah. I completely agree with what you're saying.
What I want them to start considering the Dallas Stars is to maybe start letting some of these players go at the trade deadline or at the end of the season, and start bringing up Richie, McKenzie, Faxa. These are all rookies, like, in their prime years trying to make the NHL. Those three players right there would be the perfect fourth line, because you know what? They're not going to get the amount of minutes that Jamie and Tyler get, and they understand that. So they're going to be the ones going out there trying to demolish people to make the most of their time. You got Richie, who's a big-ass guy, like 6'3", 220?
Yeah.
And he can score. So you got skill and a power forward right there on your fourth line. You got McKenzie, who basically just wants to hit and fight, who can also chip in offensively. And then you got Faxa, a really good center iceman who can tussle with them, throw the body around. That is our ideal fourth line for me. And then you keep around Roussel, Hensky if you want to, Eakin. That's the perfect checking line. Like, from that point, you get skill from all four lines, and then you really get that grit that needs to be coming from the fourth line.
Yeah, I think the fourth line needs to be absolutely reworked with the youth that we have in our farm system. I think Richie deserves to have a call-up, and I think Roussel needs a game or two, to be taken out of the lineup so maybe he can start reflecting. Because, look, I love Roussel. I liked him ever since he was on this team, because he was going to be that Todd Harvey, that Steve Ott, the guys that you're not expecting the offense from. And you're happy when they do contribute. Because, Roussel has 18 points this season, which I guess is great, and I guess he's trying to retool his game, but get back to that annoyance. Like, nobody is even, like, really getting all that annoyed by Roussel as of lately. Like, no one's really targeting him anymore. No one's, like, he's not getting the dander up of anybody. And I think that's what is really hurting this team, is that he doesn't bring a lot of the focal point away from our top lines. When he's on the ice, it doesn't seem like anyone's really paying attention to him, because they're like, well, look at this grinder trying to be a finesse guy. I think it's a big mistake that he is working the way he is. I love the workhorse mentality. I love his skating. He's always moving, but the way he handles the puck is not of a Pavel Bure. Okay, we can stop that right now if that's what you're thinking. And if he works and he becomes a 20-goal scorer next season, I will gladly never bring it up again, and he can become a finesse player. But as of right now, that's not what he is. And it's kind of hurting the team. Another thing, a brief thing, how'd you? Kari played great in this game. It was good to see him. Kind of, I say back to form, but what is that form? You know, it's he had a big season, couple seasons ago, and we know this goalie can be great, but we're seeing more stretches of bad than good, so we're always ecstatic whenever he has a good game because we're like, oh, Kari's back, but then he'll give us like 3 games where he gets pulled twice. But it was good seeing that, like that first period, real big save that he had. Fantastic.
He had a lot of really big saves in this game.
Yeah, he had a lot. He had that huge save in the third period with like 11 minutes into the game or something like that kept us in the game. Without Kari, we lose this game. Flat out. Without Kari, and it was great to see that. But here's a question that I was thinking of a little earlier today. Is this the true Dallas Stars team that we are seeing now? We are 54 games in. Now, would you have rather have had a slow drip of constant, like, you know, winning and, you know, getting used to losing and everything like that, and then like sneaking into the playoffs at maybe like the 6th spot? Would you have rather have that, or would you have rather had the mountain high and the super depth of the ocean lows that we've experienced in this season?
Oh, I mean, I don't know how you argue for that one. I would definitely take the first one. Like I was telling you last night, like, Dallas has gotta do something. They can't keep letting these teams that are in slumps and in the lower divisions outwork them in any period. Like, they're the second place team in the Central Division. You know, they're what, like 3rd or 4th in the NHL.
They're third, but I mean they're second in the West and like 3rd overall.
Like the way they're playing now, you know, it's their slump and they're slowly trying to get out of it. But this is not how a team that has this record should be playing, especially to teams like Minnesota in their slump.
Yeah, because I had asked in earlier videos that Winnipeg win wasn't the best. That Colorado win wasn't the best. That Chicago loss was horrible. And then you see this win against Minnesota, a team that's struggling so much, and the Dallas Stars struggled mightily against them. This is not game 15. This is game 54. This just might be the Dallas Stars team that we have. So I'm not going to be disappointed anymore with wins like this, and I'm not going to be disappointed with the Chicago losses that we have been, because I think Game 53 against Chicago was a big eye-opener, and it goes to show you that this team, the Dallas Stars, are going to have to scrap for everything. Nothing is given anymore. Everybody knows the playbook of the Dallas Stars. They're not the darlings. They're not Florida. All right, Florida is tearing things up, and that's not Dallas. Dallas is going to have to scrape by to get anything going, and especially with the defense, the defensive core is all shaken. I don't even know what to say about it anymore. The top pairing is what it is. Demers and Oduya have been more constant, but they've had bad games. So I think this might just be your Dallas Stars team for 2015-2016. And just enjoy a win, and don't get overly, negative with the loss, because I think the losses are going to come more now that the team is starting to be what it is. I think because we had that mountain high, people are not taking these valley lows very well, and I was one of them. But after that Chicago game, not anymore. I'm just gonna
take it in stride.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it in stride, one game at a time. Let's go into the ratings of this game. What did you rate this game?
I rated it a C+, because they overall came out with the win, but that third period was just almost embarrassing. I mean, I mean, who was it? Like Brian Boucher,
Yeah.
who was commenting last night that Zack is like one of the hardest workers in the NHL,
Yeah.
and you can see why people say that about him.
Yeah.
He basically took over that third period by himself.
Yeah. He is a great player. I gave it a C minus. I was bordering on a D plus because D plus is passing in college. Not very well, but I gave it a C minus because bad parts of the first, and they let a good second period go bad. The only reason why they made a C is because Klingberg was able to get the second straight overtime winner. The only reason. Thursday, game 55 against the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago. What kind of predictions do you have for that?
Hopefully Dallas is just washing their hair and getting all that grime out from the last time they played them, and focusing more on playing a little bit better defensively, playing physical, trying to keep up with them. Because it's like you were telling me the other day, like Chicago has 4 lines that they can rely on for the entire game. And that's something that Dallas needs to kind of adopt. That they need good play from all 4 lines, all 3 lines of defense, all 2 goalies. And I think if they start providing that, they should be able to come out with a win. So I'd say Dallas comes on top. I'm gonna say 5-4. Just because I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, because they both prove that they can score against each other. And then if Chicago wins, I think it's just going to be we'll say 5-1.
Again, another 5.
I think it'll be the same score.
If Dallas wins, I think it'll be a score of 3-1. If Chicago wins, I don't think that they get as many goals as possible, because this will be the second straight. This will be the third straight game without Jason Spezza, and I think Dallas started to play and to figure out how to play without him. So I think if Chicago wins, it's going to be 3-0. I think whoever scores 3 gets this game. And with that, that's the discussion. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, share if you would like, leave any kind of feedback down below. Remember, this is a show for fans by fans. Help us grow it. And, as always, tune in next time.